Hi, Patrick. You can unmute down below. Do you see that? Ooh. If you kind of hover down below, you can unmute.
I see it. Can you hear me now? Tanya, can you hear me?
Hi, Sophie.
Hi, how are you?
Okay.
I'm still going to be snacking a little
Hi,
bit before we
Patrick.
get started.
You can unmute.
Can you hear me all right?
Can't hear you though.
Can you hear me now?
Maybe check your mic.
I can hear you okay. I don't know.
Sophie, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
You know what? That may have been me. Can you hear me?
I can.
I was in a call and I had to take a call and I muted the meeting and I forgot and left it muted. Ken, I think you won the award for the best background so far.
All right. And that's actual, that's not a virtual, that's an actual. So, you know,
Goodness.
let me know if I need to open up with a song or anything tonight. You know.
Oh, sure. We should have thought about that. Do you have a good energy efficiency song?
I could do an environmental one. Rainbow Connection is a nice environmental one, right?
Hi, Brett. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Had a little bit of a scare because I tried to get into Zoom or into Eventbrite, and I don't know if you know this, but it says your sale has ended. So you might be blocking some of those last minute people, just so you know.
I know. They do that the last half an hour, which is kind of I've been kind of working with our engagement director to set it up. Actually, the biggest thing I wanted them to do was to her to do was to make sure we had adequate reminders and got the link out. One time I always register so I know when the link goes out. One time I thought I was going to have a heart attack because it didn't get to us until like 10 to 7.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, is it coming? And so, but I also have to remember to go in my own to start the meeting. I can't use the Eventbrite to do it because then it says you have to wait for the host.
Mhm.
So anyway, how was your day, Patrick?
It was good. It was a good day. A little hectic. I feel like people are on the move for ACs already. I've sold a couple of tankless water heaters too that just it's just been going crazy. So
Well, it seems
I-
like certain areas are really kind of crazy.
right.
I almost thought I had to turn my AC on the other day so I could see if someone was thinking, "Oh no, maybe it's not working."
That's usually when we get the most phone calls, you know, people turn them on, they don't work. So
right.
here we are though.
Sophie, I've made you co-host so you can help folks enter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to, sorry, quickly ask, I know I'm going to be sharing Patrick's slides, but am I going to be sharing any other presenters? Because I haven't received any of them. If so.
Let me send you Tim's. Well, wait, no, Tim didn't send me his. No, I think, I think that's it, Sophie.
Yeah, I can share my own. As long as I can share screen.
You know, I did a trial with Tim Cortez today and I had to make him a co-host. I've never had to do that before. So, I mean, I certainly can do it for each presenter, but I didn't have to do that before. It's kind of strange, isn't it? Can I have numerous co-hosts?
I do see an ability here to start sharing right now.
Okay. Okay, so isn't that odd?
Yeah,
can-
mine is available too.
Ah,
Just for backup purposes, if you wanted to, you can have multiple co-hosts. So
should I make all the presenters a co-host?
sure, just in case we run into any difficulty, but I'm still fine, Patrick, if it like I can share your presentation.
Yeah, I've done Zoom a few times, let's say maybe a dozen times, maybe a little bit more, but never where I had to share my own presentation. So I guess if I give the presentation, if I just ask you to click on the next slide, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
It's a little trial run. Maybe you can shoot me an email and say, hey, it's this easy. I'm just a furnace repair salesman, so.
I'm gonna make a few co-hosts just to, yeah, just in case, doesn't hurt. Hi, Mike, that's okay. I raced out to run a few errands, and then as usual, because I've lived in this town my whole life, I saw somebody and started chatting, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to get home. I have to start a meeting. It won't start without me. That's yeah, if you see me in a store that, we'll probably have a conversation. So
Looks like Yvonne's trying to get in.
yeah, if you are a co-host and you see somebody trying to get in, you're welcome to let them. Hi, Yvonne. And everybody knows we're gonna, I'll do a little intro. I'll introduce Brett, who will say a little bit about himself because I didn't get bio information from you, darn. And then he will lay out a little context. Hi, Yvonne. You've got a nice lighting situation there. I should, yeah, it's a little bright. Can't hear you though. Oops. Can you unmute Yvonne?
There we go.
There you go. Yeah, you've got a light.
I have east windows, so
Oh, okay.
west windows.
I have
So
to
it's-
turn my overhead off, otherwise you get this big glowing dome.
Oh, maybe that's what I'll do. Thank you for that.
Yep. I have different lighting adjustments for
Oh,
my music stand and my desk and my overhead and all that stuff. So
I know I just finally ordered blinds since I've been a year remote, so I'm gonna try and fix this as the sun settles here. Okay.
And if attendees joining us want to say who they are in the chat, that would be wonderful. I just will make use of our time to say hello and who you are in the chat. So, and you do know we will be recording this, but we usually start with the official beginning. So right now we're just a little more casual. It's always nice just to get on and make sure everything's all set.
Do you have any slides that you're first going to be showing, Tanya, or should I just start mine right up?
I do not have any. I just give a little intro about what this is about, and then I introduce you, Brett.
Great.
Oh, we've got John from the Marquette Climate Reality Project. Welcome. The UP, right? We've got Jim. I see that. Hi, Jim. You guys can introduce yourselves in the chat if you would like. While we wait, we usually wait just a little bit because most of the time people get on right at 7 or a few minutes after. And I know we did have some people who said they were going to register so they could get the recording because we put it on YouTube after. Everybody have a good day. Good enough?
good and busy.
Mm.
Yes. Yes. Feels like I start on Monday and then race all week, and all of a sudden I don't work on Fridays. I mean, technically. How did I get here so fast?
Technically.
I've been chatting with Jim here about my electric bicycle that's coming in May. I'm excited about. He has one like mine.
Like just a boost or like a moped?
It's a class 2, so it can go up to 20 miles per hour. I can reprogram as a class 3 at 500 watts. And
Right.
it has fat tires, and it can be folded up and transported, and it was very reasonable. So I'm kind of excited. I feel like a teenager with a new bike. And feel free to, as you come into the meeting, to introduce yourself in the chat, to say who you are. We've got most of our panelists here so far. I'm going to check my email, make sure nobody's having trouble real quick.
Ken, how are you doing out there?
I'm doing well. Just like I said, really busy. I'm also just transitioning Dan Broersma into his new position.
Yeah, I saw that. That was interesting. Definitely a good spot for Dan. So
Yeah, it's a really great new position to have sustainability and solid waste and recycling and the energy retrofit and sustainability overall. So it's a really nice fit.
yeah,
And he's jumping right in. So
yeah. Knowing him, he was born for it.
yeah, I agree. I think he was probably, yeah, well, he's definitely the best person for it. So
Yeah.
Well, it's great that the city has that position.
yeah, well, they've been, they actually put in the budget last year to have a new assistant city manager, a second assistant city manager in charge of sustainability and economics. And there was a lot of pushback from staff just saying there's no way you can find somebody who's really going to dedicate equal amount to economics and sustainability. It's either going to be one or the other. The other one's going to get shorted a little bit. So I was glad that I think this was a good compromise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even looking at all the different things in the sustainability alone, right, is quite a different skill set level for each. So yeah, if you were to throw in economics, that'd be a lot. So.
Yeah, knowing Holland, we would have really dove into economics, and then it's like, oh yeah, and that sustainability thing over there.
Right. Yeah.
As you enter the meeting, you are welcome to introduce yourself in the chat box while we're waiting for everybody to get into the meeting. Who's here? I know we have John from Marquette, the Climate Reality. Of course, we have our panelists. So feel free to hover down below and find the chat box, and then you can say who you are and where you're from if you want to. If not, that's okay. Oh, I see Cindy Ackerman. Aha, I mean, I see Cindy's name.
I just had my second COVID test yesterday. You don't want to see me.
Oh, okay.
I'll hover in the background.
That's absolutely okay. It is absolutely okay for folks to be off camera if need be, because I know some people by this time of night are kind of zoomed out. Oh, Laurie Coleman with the White Lake Area Climate Action Council in Montague. I wonder if this is what it's like when you're a teacher and you have elementary school. What do you think? Probably not, right?
Oh, could you imagine that? Everyone logging in?
Oh, I think about it sometimes and it's probably crazy.
Very thankful my daughter is out of college.
Well, it
We've
makes
been
me,
experiencing that this year. We've had our grandchildren with us since last September, and they're 8 years old. And they've been doing the remote learning, one from Colorado, one from North Dakota, and listening to them online. And they're super polite. They're doing really well. But every once in a while, you get those kids that just can't not say something. And the teacher says something, and that child just blurts it out, and it just kind of interrupts everything. So it can be just maniacal, and it can be very funny too, but it can be just crazy to watch and listen to.
as a former teacher for a few years, a long time ago, and a sub here and there, I could kind of imagine, I can imagine a little bit what it's like. So, but it'd be kind of fun to see somebody run a classroom sometime, if somebody would let me in just to peek. So feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box. If you haven't done so already, just say who you are and where you're from, and if you're affiliated with any group. We usually wait just a few minutes because most folks enter the meeting pretty close to the time that we start.
Oh, we're doing questions during, in, or after, or both.
We will be doing, I'm asking people to introduce themselves in the chat, and then after the presentations, Brett, we'll have those two questions that, those targeted questions, and then we'll have questions in the chat after, but people can certainly put in as we go.
Great.
But we're not quite ready to start because we still have some people, still have some people coming in. So as you come in, you are welcome to introduce yourself in the chat, just to say hello. We've got Nikia Virgai on staff at Trinity United Methodist Church in Grand Rapids. Tamara from Whitehall, a member of the White Lake Area Climate Action Council. Tim from Kalamazoo Citizens Climate Lobby. Jim Rose from Montague. So quite a group. I like your slide here, Brett. That looks electrifying.
Yeah, don't get too close.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and you know what? When I give my little introduction, would you mind pulling that back for just a few minutes? It's fine for right now. But oh, you didn't have to do
Yeah,
that.
that's why I was wondering if you had something, but otherwise I just wanted to make sure it works. So it looks like it's working. I didn't want to go through the, hey, is my screen working 2-minute thing? So
I definitely get it. And we had John DeMumbrum from Whitehall. I noticed that. I think from my own city. I'm in Whitehall, by the way. So we have just a few more minutes. Oh, Sheila from Whitehall. And Lori from Florida, I think. Exactly, yes. And we have, okay. I feel like, do you remember, was that TV show that he was kind of looking out and said, I see so-and-so and so-and-so? That really dates me. Romper Room.
Romper Room.
Yes. Oh, God.
Need your big magnifying glass. Come on. Yes, I can see.
Yep, and we are going to get started at 7:05, and we have just about a minute or two. We have one more minute, and then we will get started. I think we have over 65 registered, and I know some folks said they registered because they wanted to get the recording because they already had something going on this evening. So. Well, I think we will get started. I am Tanya Kabala. I'm the Lakeshore Outreach Organizer for West Michigan Environmental Action Council, which has an office in Grand Rapids, and I am the new position over here in West Michigan, expanding the organization's presence in the Muskegon area and Ottawa County and South, and have been working for them for a year. And one of the things we did very quickly when I was on staff last year was to go completely virtual, and that has worked fine for me. It's been a chance to be able to provide a lot of educational opportunities focused around the priority that I am working under, which is climate change, environmental education, water protection, and climate change. And so my goal is to help raise the level of public awareness of climate change in the Muskegon area and Lakeshore area, and assist activism. So I'm very glad to be able to put on these monthly virtual, we call them community conversations on climate change, working with Sophie Stopker of the Sierra Club. She's there, she can wave to us. Renee Hesselink, who is involved in everything sustainability in West Michigan, and she's going to be on just a little bit late today. And then Lori Coleman is a member of our planning team as well, and involved with the new White Lake Area Climate Action Council. And our goal with these community conversations is, like I mentioned, to raise the public awareness of climate change, but primarily focused on climate change solutions and action. So we really focus on practical, useful information and understanding climate science and how the solutions are prioritized and what things people can actually do individually and collectively. So we hope that you will get a lot of good information from this panel and be able to go out in your community or out in your home, as this one suggests, and get right to work. Our focus this month is on electrifying homes, and we're going to be answering questions like, why are we electrifying our homes, and how does that relate to climate change? What's the role of energy efficiency and renewable energy? And what does a clean and green power grid look like? And so we have a lineup of panelists, and Brett Little is our moderator from the Green Home Institute, and he's going to, in a minute, tell a little bit about himself. And then each of the panelists will give a fairly short presentation of who they are, and cover a number of issues. And then we're going to be asking them to tell us what the most important information is, the most important actions. And then we will take questions from folks in the chat, but you're welcome to put them in as the presentations go. But we prefer to wait on all of the questions until the end, because otherwise we will end up being here a lot longer than most people want to be with those discussions. So I am going to give it to Brett to get started. And if you all can stay muted during this time period, that would be wonderful. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
Hey, well, thank you. And I assume my screen share is working now again, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you everyone for being here with us. Again, my name is Brett Little, Program Manager at the Green Home Institute, and I really just am excited to talk more about the Electrify Everything movement that is well underway across the globe, and bring it here to home and see what ways we can help everyone get engaged and involved in this movement. The Green Home Institute specifically is a nonprofit who's been around for 20 years, headquartered in Grand Rapids, with a mission to empower people to make healthier and more sustainable choices in the renovation and construction of the places we live. And so with that, we focus on the 5 pillars of green building. And today, specifically with something like this, we're talking a lot about energy, and this comes into health a lot. 2 big pillars. We all really, especially health these days, we all want to be healthier and ensure the things we're doing aren't harming our health and the health of the community. So that's really important to us and the message we want to get out there. So in the chat, I would like you to actually answer this question. How many solar panels, just guess, how many solar panels does it take to offset a gas water heater, like the carbon emissions? Just take a quick guess. Or shout it out. 4, 5, 1, 2, 10, 10, 5. Okay, yeah, so all sorts of numbers. What does that mean? Well, it's kind of a trick question, because the reality is renewable energy can't offset, it can't undo combustion, right? I could put on 1 panel, 2, 10, 50,000 panels, and my little gas water heater could just be spitting out emissions all day long, and none of those panels would ever take that out of the air or undo that. So that's something to keep in mind as we move forward today. The other question that you want to ask yourself is there heat in the air in the wintertime? Some people think that there isn't. But we do know that there is. And we know that one of the primary reasons we know that there's heat in the air in the wintertime is because we would simply be dead if there wasn't, right? We can't live without heat as humans. So we do know that it's there. And we have the technology, such as what I did at my own house here, to take an air conditioning unit in the wintertime, like this one here, and to suck that heat out of the air. It was negative 10 degrees at my house right as that polar vortex was hammering Texas, right? And so I'm not complaining. Here in Michigan, we're used to it, and it's a tragedy what had happened there. But here I had this system out there pulling in the heat that is in the air at negative 10 and heating my house just fine this winter. And I'm telling you here that I'm alive to tell you that. I did not freeze to death in my house, and it worked. And we used 100% electricity to do it, and had zero combustion, zero emissions right there. And in the summertime, these systems go back and work just like air conditioning. It's a 2-for-1, right? Most homes, you have to have 2 different systems. You got to have this combustion gas system. You got to vent it all out. You got to get the nasty stuff, make sure it doesn't go into the house and pollute it. And then you have to have this additional air conditioning. So imagine a world where we've just got one system that does it all, just works backwards. And we've reached a point where we can do that in the coldest and harshest climates out there. Also, my water heater, same thing there. This water heater on the left, you can see how these heat pump water heaters work. They pull the heat out of the air in our house, which is, there's always heat in the air in our house. And they use it to, through a refrigerant, just like an air conditioning, to heat the water up to 400% efficiency as well. And some of these systems are so smart that they can work with consumers. I think it's now called Smart Hour program. Forgive me, I know it changed from time of use, but it can work intelligently to only heat water when the electricity on the grid is cheaper, if you're in one of those programs. And so there's a photo of mine there. I've had that since 2018 and didn't even notice an electricity increase when I installed it, when I got rid of my gas water heater. So fantastic unit there, and there's many brands that have them. Okay, and then those are the 2 big things to tackle. And then on the left here, we knocked out the gas dryer, put in a condensing dryer. So basically, when you put in a condensing dryer, it just takes that water and it condenses it down and pushes it out the same drain that the washer goes through. There's also heat pump dryers that cost a little bit more, but use even less energy. I decided to go with the condensing. And the other cool thing with these dryers is you can kind of see on the right here, this is a 2-for-1 picture. First, you can see my gas meter that I took out. But behind it, hiding there, is that used to be the vent that would spit out the dryer. Right when you have a dryer, you have to spit that heat out, right? And those things get clogged, they could cause fires, all that. Well, now that's where my energy recovery ventilator is plugged in, constantly bringing in fresh air into my house and exhausting. So we reused that hole in the house, made it to be something more useful than a dryer hole using that. Now, this is the one that's the biggest challenge. I know some people will not get rid of their cooking, right? They won't get rid of their gas. They love cooking with gas. And so that is a difficult challenge. But I promise you that more and more famous chefs and everyone is switching over to induction, which is 70% more efficient than gas, 40% more efficient than electric. And it can boil water like that, and you don't burn your hand because it's all magnetic. Much safer. And actually, famous chefs are saying they can cook even better than gas on these stoves. So you can get a single top plate and check it out if you want to. And then this winter was a great time to put my all-electric snowblower to the test. It was right in February, it was huge. And I moved a ton of snow, swapping out a couple of batteries. No problem at all. I've got an electric lawnmower battery, works just fine. These work, right? We don't need to breathe in that nasty gas and get a little dizzy while we're trying to snow blow or cut our grass. We can have electric ones that move snow just fine. The way this will work, though, is it is challenging because because of electric costs in some regards. It is not easy to do this. In my case, because I also added solar, I was able to chip away at those higher electrical costs and justify the move to doing this, which in the end saved me a lot of energy, carbon, and money. But the reality is for everyone to switch right now to these types of systems from gas because of how really it's not even electric prices are high. It's really that gas prices are so low. It can be very difficult without some other strategies like solar and batteries. And so I'm not saying the shift is going to be easy, but I think it is necessary to have these conversations to say, what are the barriers? What are the opportunities? And how can we work together to do it? So I'm real excited to hand this off to all of our speakers who are going to talk about components of being able to do this and how it could all come together to make it happen. And I believe, Mike, you're up next, so I will turn it over to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Brett. That's great. Love seeing those action shots from your house. Really wonderful. And we recently got an electric snow blower and lawnmower as well, and couldn't be happier. It's just perfect. Hey everyone, my name is Mike Berkowitz. I'm the Sierra Club Beyond Coal campaign representative for Michigan. I'm in Ann Arbor, and I'm here to, I think, do a little bit of level setting and talk about kind of why it's so important to electrify the homes and kind of what that looks like with clean energy. And so first of all, just introduce our organization a little bit. The Sierra Club is America's oldest and largest grassroots environmental organization. We were founded in 1892. If folks are familiar with John Muir, the kind of famous environmentalist. And today we have more than 3.8 million members across the country and 150,000 of them right here in Michigan. So I work for a team called the Beyond Coal campaign. Our goal is to retire all of the coal plants in the country and ensure equitable transitions for the workers there and the communities that are impacted by it, and to replace that coal entirely with sources of clean energy, not gas, as Brett just kind of talked about. We've actually been very successful since 2010 when our campaign launched. We've secured retirement of 339 plants across the country. That's two-thirds of the coal fleet across the country domestically. So, and that accounts for 23 coal-fired units right here in Michigan. So why does clean energy and electric homes, why do they matter? So there's a few main reasons. First and foremost, where our electricity comes from depends on a lot of different factors and has outcomes that impact the environment, our personal and community public health. It has really deep implications for justice and inequities. And then also there's a really great cost component to this where you can actually just save money for folks. So, if we want to improve public health, reduce pollution, save people money, and mitigate climate change, we pretty much have to stop burning fossil fuels. Where your electricity comes from matters, as I mentioned. A lot of it right now comes from coal, fracked gas, and nuclear, and we've got some from clean energy. We'd like to get more, but the reason this matters is that when you get your energy from coal, it releases pollution, specifically a all sorts of toxic things like mercury, chromium, arsenic, nitrogen oxides, sulfur dioxide, particulate matter. They cause a range of public health disparities and things like lung disease, lung conditions, bronchitis, emphysema, asthma, chronic pulmonary disease. Also can lead to heart conditions like heart attacks, arrhythmias, and even brain and nervous system conditions like strokes and loss of intelligence. Children, pregnant women, and those who live and work around coal burning power plants or extraction mines are at the highest risk. And this goes for gas operations as well. Not only just the combustion or the generation of it, but also the transportation, the extraction process, what we call hydraulic fracturing or fracking, has all sort of implications, releasing methane, formaldehyde, nitrous oxides, water pollutions. There's a waste that you have to deal with that comes out of this that is really hard or expensive to clean up. And depending on the way you deal with the waste, it can have environmental impacts too. And then specifically, a lot of this infrastructure, coal and gas plants, when you build them, they have a disproportionate impact on Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities who often bear this disproportionate burden from pipeline constructions and large generating facilities being sited in their communities. So Michigan's buildings right now, we have 3.3 million buildings. 3 million of those are residential, and the rest are commercial and industrial. So our buildings collectively, the 3.3 million of them, account for 1/3 of Michigan's electricity use and the corresponding pollution and greenhouse gas emissions that come with that. Compared to most states, Michigan has a pretty old building stock, not a lot of new construction and new buildings, largely because our population hasn't increased. We've definitely migrated to different locations, but we have not seen a lot of population increase. So our building stock on average is is old compared to many others across the country. So for all these reasons, it's really important to electrify our homes and get clean energy. And just a quick snapshot of kind of Michigan's fuel sources right now on electricity. You can see that largely coal, gas, and nuclear kind of generate the electricity we use on a day-to-day basis. Over the last couple of decades, coal has fallen dramatically. Frac gas has kind of picked up a big portion of that, and then kind of the rest is being filled with energy efficiency or making your home more efficient using less energy overall. And then solar and wind in particular as kind of the most popular renewable energy source in Michigan. The other thing I'll mention is that in Michigan, we've got a couple environmental injustice hotspots. In the Detroit area, there's 48217, a zip code that is the most polluted in Michigan and the third most polluted in the country. It's a place where there's lots of different generating facilities, oil refineries, like steel manufacturing facilities, things like that. So there's kind of a cacophony of pollution, elevated cancer levels, and all sorts of really challenging stuff. And it dovetails with our country and our state's historic racist policies around things like redlining and discriminatory housing policies. There's also some reverberations. We see this in Flint and 49507 zip code in Grand Rapids as well. So just to say, there are so many different intersecting and components of this, and why it's important to electrify our homes and get that energy from clean sources. And so lastly, I want to leave you with some tips on where you can lend your voice. The Sierra Club specifically kind of prides ourselves on advocacy and being grassroots. And so, there's a lot of things that you're going to hear about today that you can do to your own individual home or your businesses or whatever facilities, you operate in. But if that's not enough for you, or if you don't have the ability to do those things, lending your voice is another way that you can create change and help drive the momentum for this. So the best locations for your advocacy specifically are in Michigan's state legislature, our federal Congress, of course, the president and the governor have opportunities here. In Michigan, the agency that oversees our energy and utility companies is called the Michigan Public Service Commission. You can weigh in there if you want to have a say in this, or say your utility company's energy portfolio, or the way that they charge you for rates or design those rates, and kind of the programs that they offer around electrifying homes. Also, something that's really exciting happening right now is last fall, Governor Gretchen Whitmer announced that the state of Michigan would commit to being carbon neutral by the year 2050. And she set up a council on climate solutions to kind of figure out how that actually happens. It's a very ambitious and challenging goal. And so right now they're just starting to form up. And if folks are interested, they're looking for people to join the work groups. They have one specifically dedicated to housing, but also some on transportation and mobility, another one on energy transmission and generation and storage. So lots of opportunities for folks to get involved. And then lastly, your local governments, your cities, your townships, your counties, they have lots of opportunities to create programs for you or to drive momentum around this. So these are the best places I would encourage you to lend your voice if you have an opportunity. And with that, I think I'll send it over to our next speaker. Ken, I believe you're up next.
Great, thank you very much. Let me go into my share screen. All right, so thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for that information. So far, it's very intriguing, all the things that are going on. So my name's Ken Freestone. I'm recently the retired residential energy advisor for the City of Holland. And I'll introduce by name and by contact information at the very end the person that's replacing me at the City of Holland. And somebody a lot of people will know probably already from many things that he's worked on in the area. So I'm going to talk about getting to know your home and your own home environment, and addressing that at the very beginning of electrifying. You really need to be doing energy conservation at its best and at the highest levels. So I start a lot of my presentations by talking about the book Drawdown, edited by Paul Hawken. And there's 100 things that we can do, and this is on a global scale, to address climate change and global warming in particular, as he addresses it. And I use this a lot. I said, I don't ask everybody to do everything, but I do ask that everyone does something. So everyone can participate in some way and do something. This is the index from the book, and I'll show you the second part of this index in just a moment. And I picked the top 10 things on their list from the Drawdown website and from the Drawdown organization, the things that we can address. And the number one thing on there is refrigeration, which is really interesting. So and everybody thinks, okay, refrigerators, and well, they're talking about the refrigerants and those that have been banned and the way they're changing how we are cooling things and the refrigerants that they're using, as that's the main thing they're addressing for addressing global warming. But at the same time, if we are improving our refrigerants and improving our refrigeration units, then we are reducing our electrical loads and our electrical usage. So refrigeration, by their definition, is the refrigerants. By my definition, it's also about the efficiency of the refrigerator itself. And that includes refrigeration at home, refrigeration at industries, large grocery stores, storage facilities. So there's a lot there. But if you look at some of the things that are on that top 10, you've got wind turbines, solar farms, rooftop solar are all part of this. Page 2, or the second half of this, shows plant-rich diet, reduced food waste, tropical forest, silvopasture. We're not going to be addressing tropical forest and silvopasture here, probably in urban settings, but the plant-rich diet and the reduced food waste, two huge things for me personally. I became a vegetarian 4 years ago when I was working with the Institute of Water Research, and I realized how much water it takes to make a piece of meat, a pound of meat, beef, pork, etc. And I realized that I could not work in that field and not be a vegetarian, because it was just so high, the amount of usage there. So it was the thing that drove me. So again, things will speak to people personally. I will mention a little bit about the reduced food waste and how I consider that to be part of all this later. I'll talk about that at the very, excuse me, the very end. So this was last year. I did a presentation about lessons learned during COVID and people working at home. And there were a couple of things that really struck me last year. One was that utility costs are after-tax money. So all of us that started working at home, we used to work at a building or work at a facility somewhere. Not only using the energy to get there, but using somebody else's energy all day long. And maybe our house loads were reduced. Well, guess what? We now were paying for that utility cost, and that is after-tax money. So we're spending a lot more personally on energy than we were before. Things like savings from efficiency are higher than investments. So investing in energy efficiency in your home, 25, 30, 35% efficiency. If you had to put that same money into investments, you would not have gotten that kind of return. So it's very interesting what you get from investing in energy efficiency. Utility costs, we were working, schooling, gathering virtually as we are now from home, approximately 40% higher usage from being at home. And then I'll mention some practical measures that homeowners can do themselves for energy efficiency. And then I'll mention a couple of programs. I'm in the Holland area, so there's a couple of programs there. I'll let the others talk about some other programs that are available. This is when I want people to understand where to start with energy efficiency, because they're not sure. They think solar. Almost always when people call me, boy, 50% of the time, I need new windows. They want to start with windows. If you look, you start at the bottom of this pyramid and work your way up. Look where windows are, second from the top. Windows are really the last thing you should be looking at for energy efficiency. Now, there's good reason to replace windows. If they're broken, cracked, not operating, moldy, yep, replace them, of course. But if you put your hand next to the glass during a windy day, air is not coming through the glass. It's coming from around it and all the areas that you may not have insulated or addressed. So looking at the bottom of the list, in-home energy audit is number one. I mean, really addressing it yourself, getting a whole home energy audit is extremely important to understand how your home operates, where it's inefficient and where you can be more efficient. And I wanted to say something about that. The energy choices is the second one there, and TVs, computers, appliances. I had mentioned as we were all coming online tonight that we've had our grandchildren with us since last September. One from Colorado, one from North Dakota, doing all their schooling remotely. Our household went from a 3-person, mostly retired home with pretty low usage to having lots and lots of devices on all the time and connected. And when all the family was here for a month during December, and a couple of people were teaching from here. They were teachers. They were teaching remotely. The kids were online. I was doing my work online. We had other classes and other events. At one point, we had 21 devices going at the same time between the Nest thermostat and other things, all connecting, all using energy. So it was a big behavior change for us in our household. So our energy efficiency changed from year to year quite a bit because of, in this particular case, obviously COVID. So this is the energy efficiency pyramid is a great tool for saying what are the steps to follow to get to efficiency. If you can do it all at once, that's fantastic. But it can be expensive, but you can do this over a period of time. And this was another one that through the U.S. Census that the energy costs are higher than either property tax or insurance for most U.S. homes. So it was one of those putting in perspective how we spend our money, where we spend it, and what we use it for. So insurance. We hope that we never have to use it, but we spend a lot of money on it, but not nearly as much as our energy uses. So again, just a couple things just for people to put it in perspective. I'm going to skip this one. This just talked about energy usage at home and how much it's increased, but I mentioned that already. This is one of the items, and this is available on the City of Holland's website, and I will send this to Tanya, and she can send it out to everybody also. And I'm going to enlarge this in just a moment, so don't worry about being too critical about what's on here just yet. So this is an energy, a self-inspection checklist that I created. I had something similar to this that I had created for our energy audit prior to the auditor coming over. I got a gold star because I had all this stuff there for them, and their audit was a lot less time because I had done my own inspection and really familiarized myself with my own home and what was there. So this is, it's got rooms and locations, age of, whether it's an appliance or, you know, it's a window air conditioner or whatever might be in your home, current assessment and the conditions, proposed actions and goals, and then a completed action. So here's a little bit of an enlargement for that, showing what's on their attic. And I started right at the attic and worked my way all the way down through the house. Attic, roof, we have a flat roof in one part. The front is a typical roof. We have gutters, we have basement walls, rim joists, windows. So again, I went through the whole house. Here's what it looks like filled in. And again, I'll enlarge this in just a moment. So this is me going through the whole house and understanding everything that is in my home that I needed to address. So here again, here's an enlargement of that. So my home, built 1965, 1.5 stories, 2,200 square feet, age of the home, and I went through and wrote all this out again. So I knew, but then the auditor also knew. And it was a really good education. So I'm looking at like the attic. When we started, it has 6 inches R11. It was the original insulation that was in the house from 1965. And the flat roof, it needed a new roof, but I know it needed to be insulated better because the convergence of our ceiling and the roof, it was a very, very low pitch. So in order to get insulation back in there, I came from the top down and insulated in. So again, this is just a little bit of the things that we did. R60 for insulation and replace the roof. And again, so this is an assessment sheet that's available on the city's website, but I'll send this out to everybody also. I mentioned the after-tax money, and a conservative estimate of about 15% savings on utilities could save the average homeowner approximately $3,600 over 10 years. So when people start looking at it a little bit longer, when you say, oh, I saved, you know, if an average home is spending $150 a month on utilities, average, and you say, oh, you can save 20%, and they're like, well, gee, that's, you know, $30. That doesn't sound like very much. Well, take it over 10 years, the life of your living there. What could you do with that money, and how could it be better spent? I'm going to skip this particular one. So here's some quick things that people, and I encourage everybody to think about these things you can do yourself and things you can have contractors do. So I'll go through a couple of these things through some images. Using mastic. It's a paint-on material, sealing all those holes and cracks and links where your ductwork comes together. There are inefficiencies there where all those pipes come together. There are holes in all those. So making that much more efficient. These are things that I found after we did our energy audit and our energy retrofit on our home. Because we sealed up so much, it's like putting your finger in the dike and there's 3 holes in there. Well, you put your finger in one, pressure is going to send the water through the other 2 holes. Put it in the second hole, sends it even harder through that 3rd hole. These are things that I found because the air was blowing through our house in different ways once we sealed everything up. And I have this early warning system for breezes on top here. I can feel those things. And the one on the right there with the silver tape on it was one that I felt that I didn't know was there. It was up behind some ductwork and is a pipe run that goes up to our 2nd floor. So that was one I caught. For typical water heaters and typical piping in the house, insulating the pipes, this helped us keep our water heater for another couple years, knowing we were going to replace that. It did help tremendously with keeping hot water throughout our house. Caulking. This is the area where I suggest to people, these are easy things you can do. You don't have to cover the glass. It's covering all around it where the air is actually coming through. And then thinking about the door strips, putting those door strips in there so that when you close the door, it seals tight. If you have a storm window, a storm door, the weather stripping and the windows or the door, goods door on there, those are excellent things to do. these are a few things that are available through the City of Holland. They've got a program, a 20% grant program for retrofits between $10,000 and $30,000. So a homeowner can get $2,000 to $6,000 applied to their energy retrofit. There's a process to go through, pretty simple process to go through, but the efficiency, it's fantastic. What we're seeing is great results in the city, and we're looking at ways to improve it. That's where I won't say the guy's name just yet, not yet. The new guy. And then I just wanted to mention, I had mentioned food waste in there, and composting is one of those things. I'm a master composter and I teach composting classes. This is one of those so super easy things that we can do to address food waste in our own home, in our neighborhoods, whether it's backyard, neighborhood, community, commercial composting. I really appreciate having composting in my yard. I get 20 to 30 gallons of compost per month from a approximately 3-foot cube box in my yard. And so this to me is really great because I don't have to send this somewhere to be processed. No truck has to pick up my compost, send it somewhere, and then process it. These are ways we can cut down on the usage of energy in our homes, in our neighborhoods. So talk to me again about another workshop on composting. I'd be glad to do that one too. So here's a whole list of links that are available. A lot of these are related to the home energy retrofit program for the City of Holland, but there's some on this list. There's a DIY insulation. There's the indoor storm windows, Indo windows, which are great. Nice little transitional pieces to have in there. And then also, if people want to, if you want to know more about the composting, go on YouTube and look up Ken Freestone Composting 2020. I have 2 videos there, professionally shot. They're beautiful videos and talking about composting, pretty short and easy to use. So, and I also have plans available for compost bins and for the basics of composting. And then the last thing on here, see, I've got one more. There we go. So Dan Broersma is the new residential energy advisor and the sustainability manager for the City of Holland. You can get a hold of him through the City of Holland, and you can also get a hold of him through me if you want. But Dan has 20 years of working for Herman Miller, another 2.5 years of working for Goodwill Industries, setting up their sustainability initiatives, and now really happy that the city has a sustainability manager to handle recycling, solid waste, energy, and sustainability for the City of Holland. So there's a lot of information there, and I am glad to answer some questions afterwards and share this information later on. So thank you very much. And I don't remember who the next speaker was, so Tanya or Brett, if you want to jump in with that.
That would be Yvonne, if you would like to begin sharing your screen.
Okay, I'm hoping everyone can see my screen.
Not yet.
Oh, okay, let me try again. Sometimes that little share button at the bottom helps, right? All right. And I have horrible lighting in my office, so I apologize that I look like I'm behind a bright light here. But good evening, my name is Yvonne Lewis, and I am the program manager at Consumers Energy for a variety of programs. I love the 2 that I'm here to talk about today would be new home construction and our in-home assessment program. And West Michigan is our electric only territory. And so I brought a lot of information about saving on the electricity. And I love that I can segue from Ken and Mike in that kind of the best energy saved is the energy not used. And as Mike indicated, that was right there on his graph. And how does that happen? And, why do we do that? And as Mike showed, one of the reasons why is because if we're using less, we're making less. And so that's a win-win for all of us. We have about 50 different rebates in energy waste reduction programs. And I'm going to hit on the electric ones, but know that you can go to consumersenergy.com and find out about all the rebates that we have. So one of the programs that we have is called Helping Neighbors. And this, well, actually, it's our Helping Neighbors program, but it's free to anybody within our electric territory. And it's where we will come into your home and actually do a free energy assessment. So as Ken mentioned, and Ken, I think I'm going to steal your list and provide that and ask, hey, homeowners, take a stab at filling this out ahead of time. But it's a great opportunity on the electric side to have someone come into your home and review your usage and see where there are opportunities to save and receive free items from Consumers Energy. So we'll install indoor and outdoor LED bulbs, night lights. If your water is heated by electricity, we can also provide some pipe wrap. We have power strips to reduce the energy use from when we leave those gaming systems on. This will have a shutdown programmed into it. We offer dehumidifiers if you're in our income qualified program, or assistance with replacing window air conditioners. And that again is part of the Helping Neighbors program. And it's free. So one of the best things you can do, as Ken indicated, is sign up for these programs. And I'm thinking they're similar to Semco's and to Holland Board of Water and Light. And so it's a win-win opportunity for the west side of Michigan because all of the utilities are participating. I'm just going to take a look over here to make sure I haven't missed anything. So renters, homeowners, we do townhomes, duplexes. Our income qualified program, you need to be at the 80% AMI or at or below 200% of the poverty level. So if you're a nonprofit on the line and are in the forum here and you have customers who would fit into that category, you know, definitely it would be great to reach out and let us know to provide some of this information to your database and customers. And then again, if you're in the income qualified in those categories, there's different opportunities to receive other measures that would enhance energy saving in your home. Again, it would be the refrigerators, dehumidifiers, and window or AC units. So also in the West area, we have an appliance recycling program. And this is a win-win because I heard earlier everyone talking about the Freon and how that is ruining the environment. If we just don't take care of and responsibly recycle the unused refrigerator that we have in our home that's still working, maybe we put it in the garage in the basement and it was grandma's, or we got a new one and we just didn't want to get rid of that old one, but you don't realize how much energy that is using. And when you do the math, you could buy more beverages maybe, or maybe even purchase a smaller, if you needed that second unit, a smaller, more efficient unit that wouldn't cost as much to run. The newer units, I just purchased a new freezer and put the monitors on it, and because I'm a geek like that, and I found that my brand new freezer was $45 a year to run versus $125 the other one was costing a year to run. So I'm going to make my money back up in 3.5 or less years, and definitely something to be reviewing. So we do have that program. We pick it up. We offer a $50 rebate to take it away for you. And if you have a smaller dehumidifier or air conditioner unit, we can pick those up when we're picking up the larger unit. And also watch in Grand Rapids, now that COVID is over-ish, I can't say that, gosh, I should not have said that. Now that we're doing outdoor events, thank you. We have an opportunity to do the outdoor events again, where you can drive in and bring your product to us. So watch for those events coming, and they'll be in emails and posts weeks before the event happens. We also have a new home construction program. And when we talk about electrification, if anyone is looking to build a new home and wants tips or look to see if there's possible rebates and what's going on, I don't have all the information on here, but the best person to call there would be Cheryl Temby, and she can direct you to the rebate section, to the requirements, the knowledge, and the benefits of building an all-electric home. And then we have our rebates that are available for new home construction where builders are building energy efficient homes. And we have Energy Star version, we have the HERS 56 or less version. And then we have our intro to the program, which is a HERS 57 to 59. And that's a HERS rating, which is your home energy rated score. And if the home meets these scores, there's rebates available. And the intro one is, these are all for builders, not for homeowners. And that is to encourage builders to build the home right so that it's energy efficient at the beginning. And you can reach out to me for information about the new home construction program. So I just thought I'd throw in some tips for today, just because, you know, what do we do? Like, how can I make a difference? And with COVID, I spent a little bit of time in my own home, and I kind of walked around and I saw I still had 37 incandescent light bulbs, just random in rooms, a couple in a recessed lights. And it's like, how could I have 37? I've been doing this since 2002, but I did. So I challenge you this weekend to walk around your home and do two things. How many incandescent bulbs do you still have? And they're really reasonably rated, sold right now. And there's many, like we have them at Sam's Clubs and Targets, and with the instant rebate is right there. So you can even go to our online store and get the instant rebate to purchase the bulbs. But go around and count how many you have, and just challenge yourself to start replacing those. And then another, because we're all home office, how many leave their monitors on? Uh-oh, that's like always catching myself on that. And then I find that I've got 5 or 6 charging stations set up now, where I used to charge everything at the office. Now I have it at home, but now I want it on, you know, in my lower level too, if I'm down there. And then another one in my kitchen, because sometimes I'm, you know, multitasking. So kind of see how many things you now have just running, because we're just plugged in. More so than if we were leaving every day. So that would be the phantom power things. What's stealing from you as we're having our home office and school, as Ken mentioned, and all that additional use. Then schedule your free in-home assessment. That's the best place to start. It's not a huge, this is what you should do, but this is what's happening in your home. And then you can start from there and make the next decisions. Like Ken had his pyramid, that was perfect. Like have that home assessment and then read it and see what the things are that would be your next steps, and go from there. And if you're in our Helping Neighbors program, you know, we have some great possibilities of moving you forward in your energy journey to help you with more energy savings. And I always say, change your HVAC filter. People just don't realize that small, inexpensive change and what it can do to just have your furnace or your air conditioner run less and more efficient. And then be sure your windows are latched. And even now when we're unlatching them and opening, because there's some fresh air coming in, it's still getting cold at night. So make sure those windows are latched back up. Just some fun tips to end your day. And I didn't have the agenda up either to see who's after me, Tanya or Brett. So I apologize for that.
Well, I think that's Patrick.
Hello, everybody. I am Patrick King. I am the sales executive and project manager here at Boardwell Mechanical and Plumbing. I sell a lot of heat pumps, whether air source or geothermal. Just a little bit of background on me. I've had 8 years in the field after I got out of my career in the Air Force. I did some work out in Phoenix, and then now I've been working for Boardwell for about 3 years in sales and management, associates in mechanical maintenance engineering. I've got a lot of experience when it comes to heat pumps, and I'm kind of glad I went in the rotation that I am, because I'll kind of piggyback on all the presenters before me. What Brett showed you there was a Mitsubishi mini split. I sell Fujitsu. It's same concept. It's an air source heat pump. We're utilizing refrigerant to either accept or reject heat, whether it's in your home or outside your home. Now, if you think about air conditioning and dehumidifying, the refrigerant is removing the heat and from your house, and the refrigerant is what is taking it and rejecting it outside with the condenser. Now, in the heating mode, there's what you call a reversing valve, and that reversing valve slides over to call for heat, and essentially the outdoor and indoor units change positions. So now we extract heat from outside, and people always kind of talk to me and say, well, how are you getting heat from outside? It kind of sounds a little bit crazy to them. And you got to think it's not, there is no heat, there's just a lack of heat. And refrigerant is so cold that you still have a transfer of heat from, whether it's 30 or 20 degrees outside to the actual boiling temperature of the refrigerant. So that heat transfer is absorbed through the refrigerant outside in the condenser, and it comes through and it goes through a thermal expansion valve, and then that is rejected into your home. There's tons of ways that you can do this, whether it is the heat pump ductless style, kind of like what Brett had shown. They make a kind of a wall mount unit, a floor mount unit, and then they actually make ducted units that essentially looks like it looks like a furnace, but it's just essentially a coil and a blower inside of it, and that's what's moving the heat around or rejecting the heat. Along with a water heater. Heat pump water heaters have came, around in the past few years that I've been in the business. It's another way to not burn fossil fuel and actually utilize electricity to provide hot water. Also with the mini split and ductless mini split systems, when it comes to air source heat pumps, technology has gone, far enough to where 13 SEER is the seasonal energy efficiency ratio, is what SEER stands for. And 13 was mandated by the government that had to be that efficient. You start going into ductless and more higher efficient heat pumps, you get from 18 to 21 SEER. So they're already a lot more efficient than what essentially the government is standard, that it has to be efficient. When it comes into heat pumps, I will dip into this just a little bit, just because of technology, a little bit what Mike was talking about with commercial buildings. In commercial buildings, we have a ton of people that, whether it's one section is really hot and one section is really cold, along with utilizing heat pump technology, there's VRF technology, which essentially is variable refrigerant flow. Now that can take heat from one source, put it in the refrigeration cycle, and dump it into another part of the building. Or if it's rejecting the heat and putting cool air in the other building, you're still using that refrigerant and electricity as part of the heat transfer. Fujitsu, Mitsubishi, those things are kind of big, and Asia and Japan, things like that, where a lot of buildings are stacked on top of each other, and they utilize VRF systems to, let's say the apartment upstairs is heating and the apartment on the first floor is a little more compact, and it's in the cooling mode. So you can actually use the refrigerant and essentially thermodynamics to move heat from one source to the other. A little bit about like what Ken talked about, insulation plays a big factor in efficiently heating your home. A lot of people think in tonnage or BTUs that bigger is better, and that's not correct. If your house is built correctly, depending on how it faces, how the sun travels around the earth, those little things that Ken talked about, whether it's sealing up ductwork or where you have air leaks, all those things kind of tighten up the way that heat is being lost in certain spaces. Changing your filter, along with what Yvonne talked about, keeping filters changed is always a good thing. Things can get dirty and slow down the refrigerant process, and it can actually make things freeze up because the refrigerant is getting too cold. I think the other thing I wanted to talk about too, when it comes to air source heat pumps, whether it's a new build or you're redoing your home, ERVs, which are energy recovery ventilators, since you're not burning a gas, there's no combustion air coming in, you still have to have some type of air to transport fresh air and exhaust air that's in your house. So if it was to go to an all air source heat pump or a geothermal heat pump, you need to bring fresh air into your home. There's things like sick building syndrome, I think maybe some of you guys have heard of. to where you actually have to turn over the air in the house or the building that's being occupied. So ERVs are piped in, usually a 6-inch, a piece of ductwork is bringing fresh air from outside, going through a filtration process, and then being pumped into your home to give you fresh air from outside. If you could go back to the air source heat pump there, I'd appreciate, there we go. So as of right now, I'm a Trane dealer. I deal with Trane equipment a lot in Fujitsu. As of right now, I see the highest SEER rating is efficiently heating your home to about 0 degrees. And then there is an outdoor ambient sensor. Sometimes it says, hey, we aren't running efficiently as we need to. So sometimes they have an auxiliary electric heat strip that will kick on. Most of the time it's in the cold of the night that needs to just give that unit a little bit more boost to provide a little more heat inside your home. But I think as technology advances, and that house is designed and built correctly and efficiently, that I think the need for auxiliary electric strip heat will essentially go away. Can you go to the next slide for geothermal? So geothermals are essentially same thing as the air source heat pump, except we're going to use the ground, the heat from the ground to transfer heat. And instead of refrigeration, we're using water. So water can be used to transfer heat from the ground, whether it's being rejected or accepted in the home. I kind of did a quick little energy lookup, and it said geothermals save energy by approximately 65%. You can also utilize ground source heat pumps to essentially reject the water, the heat that's in the water, into a storage tank. So an electric, let's just say an electric water heater, that water that let's say it was rejected at 100 degrees would go into the storage tank. And now that electric water heater doesn't have to work as hard, because now it's, it needs to be maybe 120, 130. Some people like it even hotter than that at 140, and, can now produce hot water in your home. I think I have touched on a majority of what I know when it comes to geothermal or air source heat pumps. Like I did say, there is, I think I just popped up on that chat. Sorry. The ratio was seasonal energy efficiency ratio. That is a SEER rating. The one bullet point on here for geothermal that I did, that I put in here was obviously there's more fluctuation in air temperature when you want to reject or accept heat. The ground seems to stay at more of a constant temp than the air does. So that is my spiel on air source and geothermal ground source heat pumps. I'm glad to hear that Yvonne's reminding everybody to change their filter. Also, along with that, talking about the light bulbs, LEDs, and getting away from everything. Everything in your home essentially generates a BTU, so some type of rating. Us sitting here, if you're moving around, your kids are running around, you're generating heat, your electronics, the lights, all that stuff. So the more that you can kind of bring that down, the less the system in your home has to work to whether it's to accept or reject heat. I'm Patrick King, Boardwell Mechanical. If you have any questions, I will leave my email in the chat screen, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Patrick. And we have Tim Cortez.
Yeah, I'm here this time. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Oh, there you
All right. I got it. I muddled through the technology problem I had.
Okay.
Maybe not, yeah. There.
You're
Well, I'm Tim Cortez. I'm an electrical contractor from the Muskegon County area. We've second generation, been here since 1948 doing electrical work. I'm a second generation, and we're working on a third. We're do all types of electrical work, industrial, commercial, and residential. And one area that we've took off on a little bit is solar. We've done about 25 solar installations, and one nice one that's local that people can actually look at is one in our office here. And I'm trying to figure out how to get it to go to the next slide. Well, figures. I can't get it to move. How about this one? We'll do it that way. That system there is a 20,000 watt system that's located right here in Montague behind our office. It's 66 panels with two 10, can you see it, or can you see the?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. It's 66 panels, and these are two SMA 10,000 watt inverters. And this system has been in about 5 years and has consistently produced 18 to 20,000 kilowatt hours a year. I am a balancing type contractor where I like to come in and propose and or install a system that balances or covers all your consumption. I don't like to produce any more or less, but I like to hit that balancing point. It works out really well in the sense that you break even on it with your electrical consumption a year. This particular system covers all the electrical consumption at this facility, and it's about a 6,500 square foot building that we have our office in. Here's another shot of it with the 66 panels, and just really, I just find it very effective. And not only am I trying to sell it and use it, but we're a great resource because I actually believe in it. It's a fun product. The challenge as an electrical contractor is that the product vendors are changing, i.e. racking, solar panels. We've seen numerous panel manufacturers come and go. Makes it a little bit challenging for us to, I guess, marry a specific long-term manufacturer. But these particular SMA inverters, this is a German company. They manufacture out in Boulder, Colorado, so they're manufacturing in the US. This is a real interesting thing when you think about solar. These inverters, if you open them up, they look like the inside of a computer. It's just crazy what's inside them. But they give us a 10-year warranty on this product. It's mounted outdoors on steel racking connected to electrical wires, and they back them with a 10-year warranty. So the people manufacturing these have an enormous confidence in them. And that's really fun to see when you're dealing with that kind of electronics. Here's a picture of the back of the rack. I happen to put my own meter in here that I like to see what the total production is of these. There's a lot of neat things you can do configuring your electrical wiring system to watch it and monitor it. And of course, now with all the computer wireless stuff, you can watch them from wherever you are on your smartphone. It's kind of cool. And then this is interesting. We have to follow the National Electrical Code on all our installations, whether we're in a factory, your home, commercial facility. Well, these articles are growing big time in our National Electrical Code. We'll see solar voltaics in the last, it's a 3-year cycle. So the code book comes out every 3 years and we have to keep up with it. There's probably 4 or 5 pages added to this in the last 2 or 3 code cycles each year. And all of these are growing. Storage batteries. We're a Generac dealer and they have a clean energy product where we're integrating solar, batteries, generator, utility, all these 3 or 4 media's inputs, and we can program the electronics to manage, but we're regulated to a great degree with this National Electrical Code. We have to look at where these batteries are mounted, ventilation, safety as far as the electrical goes. We've not done anything with fuel cell stuff, but there's an article, 692 is a fuel cell article. Years ago, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, a wind article got put in. Interconnected electric, there's an article they put in there that has stipulations on, I'll call it a third-party regulatory, that when I connect up with Consumers Energy or Great Lakes Energy. It's kind of an interesting, it's a small article, but it talks about some rules that protect the utility and then protect the homeowner, understanding that there's multiple power sources. Energy storage systems, those are batteries, but Ludington Pump Storage is a classic, large scale energy storage system. And then if you think about all this stuff too, I mean, I'm trying to explain some of the things that we as a contractor have to know and understand, staying specific to alternative energy and keep up on when we do an installation for a customer. But it's very, I don't know, engaging when you look at all these rules that help make it safe for everyone when these go in. So, a good, effective electrical contractor is an important person to connect up with. And we're certainly a good resource. With my card over here and my contact info, certainly anyone can feel free to communicate with me via this email or phone numbers. And we're happy to talk to you about this stuff because I enjoy it and it's good stuff. And that's about all I have for you folks tonight.
Thanks. And Brett, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, so thanks everybody. We've got a couple of questions. I'll just throw them out there and let everyone in the group discuss them as far as the panelists go. What does everyone need to know? What are the top 3 things about this topic? And if you like, I can kickstart that with, one that I have. And that is, again, I just want to stress that making these transitions, especially on the heating side, they can be very challenging. So ensuring that you have that energy assessment done ahead of time to figure out what's going on in your house and if it's a viable pathway to go all electric. Or if you want to take a safer approach, there are a lot of dual fuel systems, great systems out there. We got a guy down in Kalamazoo who's just installing a ton of these systems where you've basically got a heat pump that works to about 30 degrees, and then the natural gas or propane system kicks in to make up the rest during the sort of coldest of cold days, making it super affordable and a good transitional strategy. So anyway, I'll hand it off to the rest of the panelists.
I think this is Tim Corday speaking, and one of the cool things about this whole big scheme of things, and Patrick can comment on it as well, but there's enormous opportunity for some young people to get involved in this. From if you're not scared to dig a hole and learn about stuff, it can be a little bit of a shorter road to just a fabulous career in a sense of providing this kind of product to the general public and be able to make a living off from it. It's just it's really cool stuff.
This is Yvonne. Energy. I think what I would like to add, and just from listening to everybody else, is that there's a ton of resources and the availability to do a little bit of investigating, whether it's for your business or your home or a new home. to look at all of your energy efficiency options, and don't be afraid to reach out to your utility or your grassroots groups like Sierra Club, and just see what the things are that you can do before you make your decisions.
I'll also throw in there, Yvonne, you talked about that second refrigerator, and after replacing a refrigerator, what to do with it. But also, I have a lot of people that have always said, oh, I'm just going to donate my old refrigerator. And it's like, no, 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 please do not donate. The idea is if we're putting something new in, we don't want to add to the load. Let's take the old load out. So having people understand that that's very kind. And I work for a food pantry and a income qualified household services. So I understand that, but that is not helpful for our environment or for energy usage, and also for energy usage for that home too. If they give it to somebody, it's going to cost them so much more to operate that, like you found with your freezer also.
Right, and our income qualified customers are already on the higher end of using 9% of their income for utilities. That's one of the reasons why, and that's why our Helping Neighbors program likes to go in and make those changes. And so we also, we work, Ken, like Habitat for Humanity, and say, you know, don't resell these, let us recycle these. So thank you for pointing that out.
I was just going to also point out something on a kind of a commercial size too. I was the facilities manager. My wife was the director of the Arts Council in Holland for 15 years. And one of the things that we did on a small commercial scale, which was some people don't think about the labor side. We replaced all of the spotlights, floodlights for all of the artwork and all the galleries and all the rooms. And it was 150 bulbs we replaced with LED. We finally found the right color that worked for the artwork. And we used to change 6 bulbs per week. So that's 300 plus bulbs per year. We went down to, we changed, in the last 3 years that we were there, we changed 12 bulbs total in 3 years. So the labor cost of going up and down the ladders, plus the cost of the bulbs per year. And so add that labor in there also. If you're looking at it on a commercial, small commercial retail scale, you're not going up and down ladders changing bulbs. So those things are.
And the heat, heat they generated.
Yes, yes. Our air conditioner ran a lot less, having 4 galleries with lights on all day long. The air conditioning ran a lot less when we changed those out.
I think I saw Patrick wanted to say something.
Yeah, Ken and Yvonne, maybe you guys could chip in on this. You talk about disposing the old freezer, refrigerator, things like that. And in my field, we get say we take out an old air conditioner, we pump all the refrigerant down in the condenser, or we can recover it in a recovery tank. And then we give it to Johnstone, who's one of our suppliers, and they are in charge of recycling it. Now, is there information out there for the general public that if you're going to dispose of a freezer or refrigerator, it's a very small amount of refrigerant, but obviously it makes a difference. Is there a place that is recovering that refrigerant, or is there businesses that you take it to and they will recover it?
So refrigerators for Consumers Energy, and I think even DTE has a similar program. When we pick them up, we take them to a recycling center where they're responsibly recycled. I'm not sure of a facility that actually does that. Would encourage anyone to make that call and have that unit recycled. Now, in talking about units we don't recycle with refrigerant, that's a good question. I'll reach out to my team and find out an answer on that. I'll take that as a task and provide it to Tanya to provide out. Brett, do you know of areas that do that locally?
I do not know.
Yeah, well, I'll take it on and get back with you.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that Padnos or Black River does that for a fee. Again, they bring it to somebody to process it, so it isn't them themselves doing it, but they do bring it somewhere to be processed.
Tim, did you have something to say?
No, I think I'm pretty cleaned up on stuff. I just like I said, there's a lot of opportunity in this for the end user and installers, and it's just good all the way around as far as solar goes, well, all of this stuff is, but the solar's very effective. I can tell you firsthand, it is work. It's very effective in Michigan. And if anybody has any doubts, they can come right out, touch and see these panels, and I can show them documents. It works in Michigan very effectively.
So the final question to everybody was, what is a top action that people can be doing in regards to this?
I'll say for me, it's suggesting people educate themselves, become knowledgeable of what you need to do for yourself, and then share that broadly. I mean, this is something that's easy. Again, that checklist, I put a link in the chat for everybody to go to the city's website and grab that checklist. It's just a really good, it's an eye opener for people when they go through their whole home, because they think about, okay, I've got my cell phone, I've got my chargers, and I got a furnace. But when you start going through that whole list of everything, Yvonne, you found all those light bulbs that you didn't think you had anymore.
No, I didn't know.
I found that heat run or that pipe run going up to the second floor, and because I wasn't wearing a hat in my basement that day, I felt the air coming down and I felt it. And now you need to all shave your heads in order to get do that same thing. So, but that's the kind of thing, is educating people, and then also all these resources that are available between WEMEAC and Sierra Club and others, and all the utility companies have tremendous information.
I think at the beginning of someone's presentation, it said, you don't have to do everything, but just do one thing. And I would challenge everyone to go and do one thing.
And one thing I'd like to add in is that there is a great group, if you like Facebook groups, the Electrify Everything group, where people are just nerding out on this stuff. So if you really want to dive into it, there's technical folks, there's policy folks. It's really cool. So I posted it right into the chat, and you can check that out. I think we're moving on to just final remarks from everyone, if we have any, right?
Brett, I do want to tell people that if they have questions that are in the chat that we didn't answer, or this is a time for them also to throw those questions on the chat. If there are specific questions about the presentations or general questions before we move on to final remarks. Any participants? Okay, from John, oh, Shelley Tembe's phone number, Yvonne, want to put that in the chat, Shelley? Okay. And by the way, this is recorded and we will send it out to all people who are registered, so you'll have that information.
I answered it in the chat, but someone had mentioned they're from Grand Haven, and so they were looking for energy audit opportunities. So Semco Gas, who's the gas provider there, has it, and most utilities, not all, do have some sort of energy audit opportunity. You just have to sort of go into their website and click the residential link. So if you're looking for that help, look at your gas provider, look at your electric provider. One of them should have something for you to help you out. So,
Brett, what is the if somebody wanted to get a whole home energy audit, what is the current going rate for that right now, average in the area?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it kind of depends on the depth of how big that audit is. So we've kind of always just said it's somewhere between $100 and $500. Again, depending on how much information you want. So, and a lot of times the utilities provide, to some extent, free audits. So
right. Well, I'll say the one thing that in our world with the home energy retrofit program, we always had a complete blower door test and a real deep audit on a home, and that blower door number was my number one checkpoint to see how somebody did. And I use my own home as an example. A measurement of CFM, cubic feet per minute, air infiltration is what they would measure with a blower door. Ours was 3,700 when we measured it going in. And when they finished the audit or finished all the retrofit, it was 3,600. And I had to tell them, look, I'm the guy running the program. You've got to do better than that. He said, we changed how we were going to insulate something when in our house. He said, let me come back. He re-insulated spray foamed one area, and it went down to 2,600 CFM immediately. But without that number, I didn't know what it was going in and what it was going out. So I couldn't tell the results. That is, to me, that's like the number one number. Utility cost by month is hard to measure immediately. That's a year or 2 years down the road. But that immediate measurement of air leakage and how tight your home is, that to me was a real critical one. And it was a real indicator of how well somebody did the retrofit project also.
I know Renee Hesselink is on, and she mentioned she had done a assessment before her solar project. Renee, did you want to mention something about that? And I know you've had some pretty hefty cost savings from your solar project.
Yeah, I just, and Brett, I worked with Brett to come and do a full audit on my home. So it's been 7 years, but it gave me a good list of, from low cost things like changing out to LED bulbs to, probably my next step is to insulate my crawl space. So I did that before I installed my solar, which it's been it'll be 7 years in May. So, so I use it every year to plan and, what do I got to do next? Because I'd love to get to net zero. I know that's probably not possible anytime soon, but I'm working at it. So yeah, I installed my solar system 7 years ago. It's a 5-kilowatt system, and it generates, I keep track every month. I plug it into a spreadsheet and keep track. So I'm generating about 70% of what I use annually.
Okay. Any other questions in the chat that we are missing? I just want to make sure people have a chance at that. And
I'll throw in a couple real quick action items following up on some questions that came up. I know someone mentioned they're in Grand Haven and flagging for you that you are officially coal-free where your electricity comes from. The Sims coal plant retired recently and actually just was deconstructed. But I will flag for you that there's a proposal to build a fracked gas plant to replace some of that capacity. It's actually not the largest plant around. I think it's 12.5 megawatts or so. But if that's something that you're concerned with, or you want your electricity coming from non-fossil fuel sources, you can contact your Grand Haven Board of Light and Power commissioners directly, the board of directors, and voice your concerns with them. I think they're kind of still in the process of weighing the final decision there. And so I think that's a really good action that folks can take if you're, say not a Consumers Energy customer, but still want to have an impact kind of outside of your home more broadly.
And Mike, there is a community group that's involved with that, grandhavenenergy.org as well. And we did have a question from can we anticipate? Oh, Sophie put that in the chat, the grandhavenenergy.org. And then question is, can we anticipate better tax credits for solar? Who wants to handle that?
I can say that, there's a 26% federal tax credit for the next 2 years. And I've heard it's a very political, from both sides, a good thing to continue to pass. So there's likely a chance that it will be extended. At least that's what I've heard from some people, and continue to be, pushed. But will it be increased from 26%? That doesn't seem very likely, just from what I've heard. So.
I think, unless I've missed something, I think that's the last of the questions in the chat, Brett.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
We had any final remarks from panelists or let's seems like everybody's had some final remarks already. Did you have any final remarks, Brett?
Yeah, no, thanks for joining us in this, this discussion. It's there's a lot of barriers to doing these kinds of things. And so in some cases, like everybody said, we just start where we can, make the changes that we can that make sense to us, and then continue to advocate and get together and educate to see what kind of opportunities we can bring. So thank you.
And Sophie, I know you had some remarks to make as well.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to all of our panelists and our moderator for the event this evening. I think we all found it very informative. It was great to have that holistic conversation surrounding, the need to electrify everything and do so in a clean and green and just manner. So, if you can and are able to, I would encourage all of those who attended tonight to put a word in the chat, kind of reflecting on maybe what you've learned in this discussion or an intention going forward. For maybe goals you have on electrifying your homes or electrifying pieces of your life. So I know we had a lot of really great folks represented in this conversation who offer opportunities of involvement. So please continue to check those out. Or if you feel so inclined and motivated after this discussion, I encourage you to start your own community group. Start advocating for the things that you would like to see in your area, just knowing that change really can happen from the ground up. So thank you so much again for joining us, and look forward to seeing you on future conversations.
Yep. So go ahead and put your words in the chat. We would love to see those if you have a little time or a minute just to say what you've learned or a word that signifies, like Sophie said, going forward. We will be back here in April with another virtual panel. Certainly if you are interested in getting more involved, we work with a lot of people who are very involved at the community level. I like the electrify everything, but we're involved with people and we can get you connected. Or if, like Sophie said, if you wanted to start your own group, there is so much that we can do at the community level, and certainly talk about it. Continue to get informed and educated on the issue, certainly we appreciate your taking your time this evening to join us. Possibilities for everyone to engage. Just get started. I'm kind of reading these. Gain and share knowledge. Yes. Just get started. We'll definitely speak to my husband about getting an energy audit. Possibilities for everyone to engage. Any others that are there? And thank you again to all of our panelists and our moderator, Brett, for all this really helpful and useful information. And hope everybody has an electrifying evening. So good night.